I have to say, the last 10 minutes of the film really surprised me. I was like, oh, that they made some really good, wise choices.
Hello everybody, welcome back. We are continuing our coverage of BFI Flare 2022. We are Boys on Film. My name is Phil Marriott and this is Raj Rudolph. Collectively, of course, we review all the latest films, features, shorts, festivals, do lots of coverage, interviews. Today we're talking about Private Desert, directed by Aly Muritiba, who's also written this alongside Enrique dos Santos. It stars Antonio Saboia, Pedro Fasanaro and Thomas Aquino. Raj, you highlighted this film before I'd even been aware of it. I saw it briefly in the brochure, but I wasn't actually intending on seeing it, and I'm glad I did, so thank you.
Oh, no, I mean, this is one of those films that you can't really tell if it's going to be a good film or not based on the thumbnail image that they put in the brochure, but you know, they hooked me in with a hot guy on a bed with his butt up, so I was like, I'll check it out. But, pun intended, I did watch a clip of I looked at the trailer and I'm like, I'm kind of getting sort of the Crying Game sort of feels from the trailer. So yeah, I watched it this morning and I have to say this is definitely one of the best films I've seen at Flare for quite a while. I was not expecting it to be so good. I couldn't control my joy of watching it. I had to immediately after I was done, I had to message you saying, oh my god, I love this film so much. So yeah, it's just been one of the highlights for me. I would definitely watch this film again.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was great, and I've got to say that Antonio Saboia, who's the protagonist, one of the protagonists, because I suppose there's two central characters, he kind of reminded me of like a young Robert De Niro or young Al Pacino. He's really easy on the eye, I have to say.
Yeah, definitely up and coming. I did check out his IMDb, and he hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. So, he keeps doing really good films like this. He could have a bright future. I would definitely watch him again. He's really handsome.
Yeah, he is. I think he's in his late 30s. Like you say, I've not seen him in anything else before. I don't know whether that's just because obviously this film is Brazilian and I haven't maybe seen a lot of Brazilian films necessarily over the last few years. But yeah, I don't know whether he's a big name back home. Let's talk about the story, because it's about, he plays a cop called Daniel. He's going through some problems at work because there was an incident which caused a lot of controversy, not just in the local town, but also with the police, his bosses, who, have kind of cautioned him over this episode where we never really found out completely what that was, I don't think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Didn't he beat up somebody or something?
It sounds like it, but like you said, we didn't really find out what happened, and there was definitely plenty of time in the film to explain that. But I think that it was an interesting choice that they chose not to show what actually happened, because it sounded pretty dire. It felt like he was running away from his problems a bit. But yeah, it was interesting. I mean, did you find, I was totally entranced in the first half hour of the movie, right? And it's really setting the stage for this main character, and then the opening credits show on the trip that he's taking to this other small town to meet his woman. Did you find that off-putting, or did you find it interesting editing that the opening credits were thrown in a half hour into the film?
No, not at all, because I saw another film recently which also did the same. That was Fresh, the horror film on Disney+. I think it was 33 minutes into the film and the credits came up. I think it's like a modern trend, or it seems to be the start of a modern trend, where you're kind of you're sucked into the film and then it's almost like it's the next chapter after the credits have started rolling. It's like, right, let's get into the beef of the movie, and I kind of like that, because you're not really distracted by any credits right at the very beginning, so you're kind of enveloped by the whole thing. I think it's a really good tactic, actually. It's a good move.
It did catch me sort of off guard a little bit. I'm like, I guess we didn't see the opening credits.
Yeah, it was about 20 minutes in, I think, wasn't it? 20 minutes, half an hour in, and then the credits started rolling.
The half hour in,
yeah.
So I think that it caught me off guard a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good move. It's a smart move. So he's kind of infatuated by this girl. Is it Sarah or Sarah? Sarah, yeah. It's without an H. They've met online. They've kind of had this really good relationship, but I don't think they'd ever met up until that point, but he's trying to find her because she stops communicating with him, so she's not replying to texts or voicemails or anything, and he can see that she's online when he's trying to contact her, but she just ghosts him. So he goes off to me, and I kind of like that. I like the fact that it changed the location as well. That kept me more interested in the film. Is that you saw lots of different locations of him moving around and meeting other people.
Spoiler alert, I think it's kind of important though that people know this going into the film, but Sarah actually turns out to be trans or non-binary or something. She never really explains like how she identifies, and I thought it was quite interesting because the main character did have that visceral reaction when he realized.
I think it does expose what could have gone wrong, I think, because a lot of people would have reacted quite aggressively and shown a lot of hostility.
Yeah, and we've seen that in film where people have reacted quite aggressively.
Exactly.
And there was a moment where I was like, oh shit, this could really go wrong. This could really go wrong right now.
But I think that's why a lot of trans people don't necessarily say from the offset, because they want to judge a character. They want to judge to see how somebody is before maybe they reveal that, because they got to find the right time to do that. And I liked that. I think it was sensitively portrayed, I think. And I'm glad that the storyline was like that, and it wasn't the typical horror story. Almost
the way he dealt with his emotions, like you could really see like, oh my god, that guy's going through some shit in his head. He's going through some shit in his head. And so I guess he had to learn a lot and process a lot, and same with Sarah, the character. She had to learn a lot about herself, what she really wanted, and it's kind of like this one big meeting kind of came at a head, and there created a clear turning point in the film for both characters. It was just beautiful to watch.
I think there was a lot of reflection for Daniel. Definitely, there was a lot of learning and a lot of optimism because of that, I think, in this film, where it could have been very, very dark and gloomy. It wasn't at all. I felt like there was a shining light throughout the whole thing, even though there were some tough subjects. I think there is a lot of darkness there throughout the film, but it never felt depressing to me. It felt like there was always help and support from people that she knew, that she was obviously going, because I think she made a lot of good decisions, and I think she was really strong as well, because you see her almost like looking at other people who do treat her badly and saying, well, I am me, if you don't like that, then you can just get out of here. And that was her response to a lot of bad problems, and I love that because she felt very strong. I didn't know where the story was going to go as well, so it kept me surprised. There were a lot of surprises for me, and it wasn't predictable. It wasn't like some of the films sometimes we've seen about that trans story where you can kind of predict the outcome and it doesn't always run smoothly, and of course it doesn't in this story at all, but it did intrigue me and surprise me, especially with the third act.
I have to say, the last 10 minutes of the film really surprised me. I was like, oh, that they made some really good, wise choices there in telling the story. And I think, we kind of need to leave this up to the people watching the film, because it is kind of a bit of a spoiler of what happens in the end. But I just loved it. It was so beautiful, this film. Like, I want to watch it again. I want to own it on Blu-ray when it comes out. It's a shame because this film hasn't been really talked about at Flare. There's other big films that are quite already on the headlining pedestal, and this one just seems like a sleeper hit that no one's really talked about.
Well, you say that, Raj, but this is Brazil's submission for the Best International Feature at the Academy Awards.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't think enough people are talking about it, so go out and see this film if you can. Like, it needs a little bit of wider release before the Oscars. Go out of your way to see this film. It's a very important film. It's interesting filmmaking, it's interesting storytelling, and it has something new and fresh to say.
I loved it, and I'm going to echo what you said as well about wanting to see it again, because I definitely want to see it a second time, because I think it's one of those films where there's so much going on and there's so much complexities, and it covers such a brilliant subject that is dealt with honestly, I think. Honestly, and also, like I say, optimistically. And it's not predictable like some of the trans stories that we've seen on the big screen. I'm really tempted to give it a 5-star. I think I'm going to give it a 4 though. But I thought it was amazing. It's a beautiful film.
I am going to give it a 5-star.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to go for a 5 as well. Not just copying you, but I'm trying to think of any flaws, and I can't think of anything that I didn't like about it. So I guess it's perfect in that respect. Sorry,
I keep leaning over because my camera keeps shifting. So sorry about that.
It's slowly slipping off the screen. So there we go. 5-star review for Private Desert. Check it out. We'll give all the details down below in the description box of when you can see it. It's on at BFI Flare. Do check it out because it's highly recommended by us. Good to see you, Raj, and thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share with your friends, and hopefully soon as well we're going to start this movie quiz live stream.
Oh yeah, that's coming up. Stay tuned.
Be afraid, be very afraid.